Let's begin with a question: what does it mean to live a life of meaning? And even more importantly, what does it mean to live a life of power? These are not questions we ask lightly. They are questions that linger in the background of our everyday lives, waiting for moments of silence or hardship when they rise to the surface and demand answers. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most misunderstood and provocative philosophers of all time, believed that the answers to these questions could not be found in easy comforts or shallow pursuits. Instead, he challenged us to look deeper, to question everything we've been taught about morality, purpose, and strength. He believed that the meaning of life isn't something handed to us, it's something we create. And power. Power isn't about dominating others. It's about mastering ourselves. But here's the thing: Nietzsche didn't believe this mastery came easily. In fact, he argued that the pursuit of meaning and power requires us to embrace pain, chaos, and uncertainty. It demands that we confront life's hardest questions and most uncomfortable truths. So let me ask you right now, are you willing to confront those questions? Are you ready to step into the chaos and find your own meaning? Most of us live in a society that promises comfort and convenience. We're told that happiness is the ultimate goal and that avoiding pain is the key to a good life. But Nietzsche flips this idea on its head. He argues that true meaning and power come not from avoiding struggle, but from embracing it. He believed that life, at its core, is a constant process of becoming, and that becoming demands that we face the fire. But what does this mean in practical terms? How do we take Nietzsche's abstract philosophy and apply it to our own lives? Let's start with his idea of the Übermensch, or the overman. The Übermensch isn't a superhuman or a godlike figure, it's a metaphor for the person who has risen above societal norms and limitations. It's the individual who has taken full responsibility for their life, who has created their own values, and who has found strength in their struggles.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
So let me ask you this: what values are guiding your life right now? Are they truly your own, or have you inherited them from society, religion, or your upbringing? Nietzsche believed that most of us are living according to a slave morality, a set of values designed to keep us small, obedient, and afraid of our own power. He challenges us to break free from this conditioning and to create our own values that reflect our deepest desires, our truest selves, and our highest potential. But here's the catch: creating your own values isn't easy. It requires courage. It requires the willingness to question everything you've been taught. And it requires the strength to stand alone, even when the world tries to pull you back into its norms. This is why Nietzsche believed that the path to the Übermensch is not for the faint of heart. It's a path of struggle, of isolation, and of relentless self-examination. Now, you might be thinking this sounds overwhelming. Why would anyone choose this path? The answer is simple: because the alternative is a life of mediocrity, a life spent chasing shallow pleasures and avoiding discomfort, a life where you never truly discover who you are or what you're capable of. Nietzsche believed that the ultimate goal of life is not happiness, but greatness. And greatness can only be achieved by embracing the full spectrum of life: the joy, the pain, the chaos, and the beauty. So let me ask you again, are you willing to embrace the chaos? Are you willing to step into the unknown and create your own meaning? This is where Nietzsche's concept of amor fati comes in. Amor fati means the love of fate. It's the idea that we should love and embrace everything that happens to us, both the good and the bad, because it's all part of our journey. It's not about resignation or passivity. It's about seeing every experience, every challenge, and every setback as an opportunity to grow. Think about the hardest moment of your life. Maybe it was a loss, a failure, or a betrayal. At the time, it probably felt unbearable. But looking back, can you see how that moment shaped you? Can you see how it forced you to grow, to adapt, and to find strength you didn't know you had? This is the essence of amor fati. It's about loving your life exactly as it is, not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. But here's the thing, most of us resist our fate. We complain about our circumstances, blame others for our problems, and wish for a different life. Nietzsche would argue that this resistance is what keeps us stuck. He challenges us to stop wishing for a different life and to start embracing the one we have. To see every obstacle as an opportunity, every struggle as a gift, and every moment as a chance to become more of who we're meant to be. So let me ask you, what would happen if you stopped resisting your fate and started embracing it? What would your life look like if you loved it not in spite of its challenges, but because of them? This brings us to another one of Nietzsche's most powerful ideas, the will to power. The will to power is the drive to overcome, to create, and to become. It's the force within us that pushes us to rise above our circumstances, to shape our destiny, and to leave our mark on the world. But here's the key: the will to power isn't about controlling others. It's about mastering yourself. Think about it. How often do we let fear, doubt, or insecurity hold us back? How often do we give up on our dreams because we're afraid of failure? Nietzsche believed that the will to power is what allows us to break free from these limitations. It's what gives us the strength to face our fears, to take risks, and to pursue our highest potential. But here's the question: are you living according to your will to power, or are you letting life control you? This is where Nietzsche's philosophy becomes deeply practical. He challenges us to take full responsibility for our lives, to stop blaming external circumstances, and to start taking action. He believed that every moment is an opportunity to exercise your will to power, to choose growth over comfort, courage over fear, and creation over destruction. So let me ask you, what action can you take today to step into your power? What small step can you take to move closer to the life you want to create? This is the essence of Nietzsche's blueprint for a life of meaning and power. It's not about following a set of rules or chasing external success. It's about becoming the author of your own story. It's about embracing the chaos, loving your fate, and using your will to power to create a life that's uniquely your own. But here's the big question: are you ready to take that step? Let's take this further. If we're going to follow Nietzsche's blueprint for a life of meaning and power, we must first confront one of the greatest barriers to our growth: fear. Fear is what holds us back. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of stepping outside the expectations society has placed on us. But Nietzsche didn't see fear as something to avoid. He saw it as a challenge to overcome a necessary obstacle on the path to becoming who we truly are. Let me ask you this: what are you afraid of? And I don't mean surface-level fears like public speaking or spiders. I mean the deep, existential fears. The fear of being alone, the fear of being misunderstood, the fear of living a life that doesn't matter. These fears are the ones that shape us, often in ways we don't even realize. Nietzsche believed that fear is rooted in our desire for security. We cling to what's familiar, even if it limits us, because stepping into the unknown feels dangerous. We follow the values of others, our parents, our culture, our religion, because creating our own values feels overwhelming. But here's the problem: when we live according to someone else's values, we betray ourselves. We suppress our individuality, our creativity, and our potential. So let me ask you, whose values are you living by? Are they truly your own, or have you inherited them from others? Nietzsche believed that to live a life of meaning and power, we must break free from the values imposed on us. He called this process the revaluation of values. It means questioning everything you've been taught to believe about right and wrong, success and failure, good and evil. It means asking yourself, what do I truly value? What kind of life do I want to create? But here's the catch: breaking free from inherited values requires courage. It requires you to face your fears head-on and to embrace the discomfort of stepping into the unknown. It's not easy, but it's necessary. Because until you create your own values, you'll never truly be free. So how do we do this? How do we overcome fear and create values that are uniquely our own? The first step is to confront the fear of judgment. Let's be honest, most of us care far too much about what other people think. We make decisions based on how they'll be perceived, seeking approval and avoiding criticism. But Nietzsche would argue that this is a trap. When you live for the approval of others, you give away your power. You become a prisoner of their expectations, rather than the creator of your own destiny. Think about this: how many decisions have you made in your life because you were afraid of being judged? How many dreams have you abandoned because someone told you they weren't realistic? Now, imagine what your life would look like if you stopped caring about what others think. Imagine the freedom of living authentically, guided by your own values rather than the opinions of others. Nietzsche believed that this kind of freedom is the key to becoming the Übermensch, the person who has risen above societal norms and limitations. But here's the thing: freedom comes with responsibility. When you create your own values, you can no longer blame society, your upbringing, or external circumstances for your choices. You become fully responsible for your life. And while this responsibility can feel daunting, it's also incredibly empowering. So, let me ask you, are you willing to take full responsibility for your life? Are you willing to let go of the need for approval and start living authentically? The second step is to embrace the fear of failure. Nietzsche believed that failure is not something to be avoided, it's something to be embraced. Why? Because failure is the only way we grow. It's through failure that we learn, adapt, and discover what we're truly capable of. But here's the problem: most of us see failure as a reflection of our worth. We internalize it, letting it define who we are. Nietzsche challenges this mindset. He believed that failure is not a judgment on your character, it's feedback. It's a signal that you're pushing your limits, taking risks, and striving for something greater. Think about the most successful people in history: artists, inventors, leaders. Every single one of them has failed, often repeatedly. But they didn't let failure stop them. They used it as fuel, as motivation to keep going. So let me ask you, what would you attempt if you weren't afraid of failing? What risks would you take if failure wasn't the end, but the beginning of your growth? The third step is to confront the fear of the unknown. Nietzsche believed that life is inherently uncertain. We can't predict the future, and we can't control everything that happens to us. But instead of fearing the unknown, he challenges us to embrace it. Why? Because the unknown is where possibility lives. It's where we discover new ideas, new opportunities, and new aspects of ourselves. When we cling to the familiar, we limit our growth. But when we step into the unknown, we open ourselves up to transformation. Think about a time in your life when you faced uncertainty. Maybe you moved to a new city, started a new job, or ended a relationship. At the time, it probably felt scary. But looking back, can you see how that uncertainty led to growth? Can you see how stepping into the unknown helped you discover something new about yourself? This is what Nietzsche means when he says, one must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. Chaos, the unknown, is not something to fear. It's something to embrace. So let me ask you, what chaos are you avoiding right now? And what would happen if you stopped avoiding it and started embracing it? The final step is to create your own values. This is the ultimate challenge Nietzsche presents to us. It's about asking yourself what truly matters to me. What kind of person do I want to become? Creating your own values doesn't mean rejecting everything you've been taught. It means evaluating it, questioning it, and deciding for yourself what aligns with your truth. It means living intentionally, guided by your own principles rather than the expectations of others. But here's the thing, creating your own values isn't a one-time event. It's a lifelong process. It requires ongoing reflection, self-awareness, and the willingness to adapt. Because as you grow, your values will evolve. And that's okay. In fact, it's necessary. So let me ask you one final question for this part. What values are guiding your life right now? And are they helping you become the person you want to be? Nietzsche's challenge to us is not an easy one, but it's a challenge worth accepting. Because when we overcome fear, embrace the unknown, and create our own values, we step into our power. We stop living passively and start living intentionally. And in doing so, we begin to create a life of meaning and strength, one that's uniquely our own. Now that we have explored fear and the creation of our own values, let's move to the heart of Nietzsche's philosophy, the will to power. This isn't just a concept, it's a way of living, a force that drives us to rise above, to overcome, and to create something extraordinary. But here's the truth, the will to power isn't a gift we're born with. It's something we cultivate, something we choose to embrace, especially in the face of adversity. Let's begin with a question: what are you doing with your struggles? Are you letting them weigh you down, or are you using them as fuel to propel you forward? Nietzsche believed that struggle is not an obstacle to overcome, it's the very path to strength. He famously said, "What does not kill me makes me stronger," but this isn't just about physical survival. It's about transforming every challenge, every setback, and every failure into an opportunity for growth. Think about the struggles you've faced in your life. Maybe it was a heartbreak, a failure, or a moment when everything seemed to fall apart. At the time, it probably felt unbearable. But looking back, can you see how those moments shaped you? Can you see how they made you stronger, wiser, or more resilient? This is the essence of the will to power, the ability to take life's hardest moments and turn them into stepping stones for your growth. But here's the catch: this transformation doesn't happen automatically. It requires effort, it requires intention, and it requires the belief that your struggles have meaning. So let me ask you, do you believe that your pain has a purpose? Nietzsche challenges us to stop seeing struggle as something to avoid and start seeing it as something to embrace. He believed that the greatest achievements in life come not from avoiding discomfort, but from leaning into it. Imagine a seed breaking through the soil, a butterfly emerging from its cocoon, or a piece of coal transforming into a diamond. All of these transformations require pressure, resistance, and struggle. And the same is true for us. But the will to power isn't just about surviving struggle, it's about using it to create something meaningful. Nietzsche believed that our true power lies in our ability to create, to shape the world around us, and to leave behind something that outlives us. This is where legacy comes into play. Let's pause for a moment and ask, what kind of legacy are you creating? Most of us don't think about legacy until it's too late. We get so caught up in the day-to-day grind that we forget to ask the bigger questions: what do I want to be remembered for? What impact do I want to have on the world? Nietzsche believed that legacy isn't about fame or fortune. It's about living authentically, creating your own values, and leaving behind something that reflects your truth. It's about making a mark not on the world's terms, but on your own. But how do we do this? How do we transform struggle into strength and create a legacy that matters? The first step is to embrace responsibility. Nietzsche believed that the path to greatness begins with taking full ownership of your life. This means accepting that you are the author of your story. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond. And in that response lies your power. Think about it. Every time you face a challenge, you have a choice. You can let it defeat you, or you can let it define you. You can give up, or you can rise up. You can complain about your circumstances, or you can use them as fuel to create something extraordinary. So let me ask you, what choice are you making right now? Are you taking responsibility for your life, or are you waiting for someone else to save you? The second step is to embrace creativity. Nietzsche believed that we are all creators, not just of art or ideas, but of our own lives. He saw life as a blank canvas, and he challenged us to paint it with bold, vibrant strokes. This means stepping outside of your comfort zone, taking risks, and daring to create something that's uniquely yours. But creativity isn't just about making something new, it's about reimagining the old. It's about taking the chaos of life and turning it into something meaningful. Think about the struggles you faced. How can you reframe them? How can you turn your pain into purpose, your failures into lessons, and your setbacks into stepping stones? Let me give you an example. Imagine you faced rejection, maybe in a relationship, a job, or a creative pursuit. At first, it feels like a failure. But what if you reframed it? What if you saw that rejection not as an end, but as a redirection? What if you used it as an opportunity to grow, to improve, and to move closer to your true path? This is the power of creativity. It's not just about making something new, it's about seeing the world and your place in it through a new lens. The third step is to embrace growth. Nietzsche believed that life is a constant process of becoming. We are never finished, never complete. And that's a good thing. Because it means that no matter where you are in life, you have the power to grow, to evolve, and to become more of who you're meant to be. But growth requires discomfort. It requires stepping into the unknown, facing your fears, and pushing beyond your limits. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Because every time you grow, you expand your capacity for strength, for wisdom, and for impact. So let me ask you, what are you doing to grow right now? Are you staying in your comfort zone, or are you challenging yourself to evolve? The final step is to embrace connection. Nietzsche believed that while the path to the Übermensch is a deeply personal journey, it doesn't happen in isolation. Our struggles, our growth, and our creativity are all enriched by our relationships with others. Think about the people in your life. Who inspires you? Who challenges you? Who supports you in becoming the best version of yourself? And just as importantly, how are you showing up for others? How are you using your struggles, your growth, and your creativity to make a positive impact on the people around you? This is where legacy comes full circle. It's not just about what you create, it's about how you inspire others to create. It's about how you use your life to lift others up, to challenge them to grow, and to help them see their own potential. So let me ask you one final question. What legacy are you leaving behind? And how are you using your willpower to create a life of meaning and strength? Nietzsche's blueprint for a life of meaning and power is not an easy path. It requires courage, responsibility, and relentless self-reflection. But it's also a path of immense freedom, joy, and fulfillment. It's a path that allows us to rise above our circumstances, to embrace the chaos of life, and to create something extraordinary. So are you ready to embrace your will to power? Are you ready to transform your struggles into strength and create a legacy that matters? The choice is yours. But remember this: every challenge you face, every risk you take, and every step you make toward your truth brings you closer to becoming the person you're meant to be. Now go. Embrace the chaos. Love your fate. And create a life of meaning and power.